What if I told you that the very thing you've been longing for, whether it's love, financial freedom, peace of mind, or a new beginning, wasn't somewhere far away, but resting quietly in the space between your thoughts? What if the life you've been chasing wasn't hiding from you, but instead waiting for you to finally notice it? Pause for a moment and let that sink in. You've tried affirmations, you've repeated rituals, you've followed routines that promise to unlock abundance, and yet if you're honest, some part of you still feels like you're reaching out with empty hands. It's almost as if the universe dangles the promise of fulfillment in front of you, only to pull it away just when you thought you had it. Here's the truth no one really tells you at the start. Manifestation doesn't fail because you didn't try hard enough, or because you didn't speak the right words, or because you weren't positive every second of the day. It stumbles because of a deeper, invisible trap. A trap hidden in the way we identify ourselves. You see, most people approach manifestation as seekers. The seeker is always striving, always stretching forward, always imagining that the treasure lies just a few steps beyond the horizon. The seeker believes that one more vision board, one more meditation, one more affirmation will finally flip the switch. But the seeker's world is built on a foundation of lack, because to seek something is to admit you don't yet have it. And this is the paradox. The more you chase, the further it slips away. The harder you grip, the more it resists. The louder you declare, the more your inner voice whispers back, "But I don't see it yet. I don't feel it yet. I'm not there yet." But here's where things begin to shift, if you dare to see it. Manifestation doesn't begin when you act like a seeker. It begins the moment you choose to step into the role of the observer. Now I know that sounds simple, maybe even abstract, but listen carefully. The observer doesn't chase. The observer doesn't cling. The observer doesn't demand that reality bend on command. Instead, the observer watches calmly, silently, fully present. And in that state of presence, something extraordinary happens. Reality starts to respond. Think about the last time you were deeply aware of something. A sunset painting the sky in colors you couldn't describe, or the way a child's laughter seemed to ripple through the air. In that moment, you weren't grasping at anything. You weren't demanding the experience to stay forever. You were simply there, awake and attentive. That pure awareness is the doorway where manifestation actually begins. But here's the twist most people miss. When you become the observer, you don't only see reality, you shape it. Science has been hinting at this for decades. In physics, experiments show that particles behave differently when they are observed. Energy collapses into form not when it's forced, but when it's seen. That means the simple act of awareness carries a hidden creative power. It's as if the universe is waiting, patiently, for you to notice before it decides how to arrange itself. And if that sounds unbelievable, look back at your own life. Haven't you noticed that the moment you stopped obsessing over something, it had a strange way of showing up? The call finally came when you stopped checking your phone. The solution appeared when you stopped trying to squeeze it out of your brain. The person you were waiting for walked in just when you released the pressure. That wasn't coincidence. That was the observer's quiet power at work. But here's the deeper layer, and I want you to hear this clearly. Becoming the observer is not about passive detachment. It's not about sitting on the sidelines of your life and hoping everything magically rearranges itself. It's about shifting your identity from the restless seeker to the aware presence behind every experience. Picture this. Your thoughts are like clouds drifting across the sky. Some are heavy and stormy, others are light and fleeting. The seeker chases the clouds, running after one, pushing another away, never satisfied with the view. But the observer? The observer leans back, looks upward, and simply watches. In that calm awareness, the sky itself becomes visible. You suddenly realize you were never the cloud. You are always the sky. And once you see that truth, you can never see life the same way again. Because in the role of the observer, lack dissolves. The desperation to get there quiets. You no longer force the universe to deliver on your timeline. You allow it to reveal itself in its own rhythm. And strangely, that's when doors open faster, opportunities align smoother, and synchronicities multiply. The energy you used to spend chasing transforms into the energy of alignment. Take a breath right now. Notice the air moving in and out of your body. Don't try to control it, just notice. For this single moment, let yourself be the witness instead of the doer. That's it. That's the beginning. But here's the question that will carry us forward. If being the observer unlocks manifestation, how do you stay in that state when life is messy, loud, and constantly pulling you back into seeking? That's what we'll explore next. But for now, let this truth settle. Your power doesn't come from endlessly searching. It comes from stopping, noticing, and becoming the one who observes. The seeker believes the treasure is out there. The observer discovers the treasure was here all along. Think about the world around you for a moment. Everything you see, the walls, the objects, the people, even your own hands, appears so solid, so permanent. Yet science tells us that beneath this physical appearance lies something far stranger, a field of vibrating energy, particles in constant motion, possibilities waiting to take form. And here's the remarkable discovery. What decides how that energy arranges itself isn't force, it's observation. Could it be that your simple awareness is more powerful than all the effort you've been pouring into rituals and routines? For decades, physicists have studied what's known as the observer effect. In quantum experiments, particles behave like waves of potential until they are measured. The moment they're observed, they collapse into a specific state, as if reality itself waits for a witness before deciding how to appear. Now, you don't have to be a scientist to realize the profound implication here. If awareness can shift particles in a lab, why wouldn't awareness shape the circumstances of your life? Pause on that. Your attention is not passive, it's creative. Wherever you place it, you're signaling the universe to crystallize possibility into form. This is why the restless seeker struggles. The seeker's attention is fragmented, jumping from desire to desire, always focused on what's missing. And remember, attention is creative. So what does the seeker create? More lack, more distance, more longing. But the observer? The observer sees with steady presence. They bring calm awareness to what already is, and that simple act of being awake begins to call new possibilities into existence. Imagine your life as a movie projector. The reel of film contains countless possible frames, but the light of observation chooses which frame appears on the screen. Without the light, nothing is seen. Without the observer, nothing collapses into reality. And this is where the shift from seeker to observer becomes life-changing, because you stop chasing frames that haven't appeared yet, and instead illuminate the frame that's ready to bloom before you. Now let's bring this down from the abstract into your daily life. Think of a time you were overwhelmed by worry. Maybe you replayed a mistake in your mind, or imagined a conversation that hadn't happened yet. The seeker in you tried to fight those thoughts, maybe replacing them with affirmations or distracting yourself with busyness. But what happened? The more you fought, the louder the thoughts seemed to grow. Now imagine instead that you stepped back, not running from the thought, not gripping it either, just observing. You might notice, here is a thought of fear. You might notice, here is my chest tightening. And as you stay present, something miraculous happens. The thought loses its grip. It drifts by like a cloud. The emotion softens. You return to center. That shift is the observer's gift. Because the moment you observe without judgment, you transform. The great spiritual teachers throughout history pointed to the same truth, though they used different words. Some called it mindfulness. Others called it awakening. Others called it stillness. But at the core was always the same invitation. Watch, witness, become aware. In that awareness, you align with something larger than your small self. You align with the field from which everything arises. And notice this, the observer isn't cold or distant. The observer is deeply intimate with life, because to observe is to pay attention fully. When you observe the smile of someone you love, you're not detached, you're fully present with them. When you observe your breath, you're not ignoring life. You're finally experiencing it as it is. This presence awakens a subtle energy inside you. An energy that reshapes not only how you feel, but what unfolds around you. Here's another way to picture it. Imagine a lake on a windy day. The seeker's mind is like the surface. Choppy, restless, reflecting nothing clearly. But as you become the observer, it's as if the wind's calm. The surface becomes still, and suddenly the sky reflects with perfect clarity. Possibilities, guidance, intuition. All of it becomes visible when the mind is quiet enough to reflect it. And the stiller you become as an observer, the louder the universe begins to speak. Now, I don't mean you'll hear a booming voice in the clouds. It's subtler than that. You'll notice nudges, an idea that arrives out of nowhere, a coincidence that feels too precise to be random, a door opening just when you needed it most. Some call these synchronicities, others call them signs, but whatever name you give them, they begin to multiply once you shift into observer mode. Why? Because as the observer, your energy is coherent. Instead of scattering attention everywhere, you're rooted in awareness. And coherence draws coherence. Calm attracts clarity. Presence attracts presence. What you are within begins to be mirrored without. Here's a practice you can try right now. The next time you catch yourself chasing an outcome, chasing approval, chasing a timeline, stop for just a breath. Ask yourself, am I being the seeker or am I being the observer? Then simply notice. Notice your heartbeat. Notice the sounds around you. Notice the way the air feels against your skin. In that simple noticing, you've stepped into the observer's seat. And from there, manifestation doesn't feel like forcing. It feels like aligning. But here's the deeper question. How do you hold that state not just for a moment, but as a way of living? That's where true transformation begins. Because anyone can touch awareness for a breath. But the real power comes when awareness becomes your home, not just your vacation. And in the next part of this journey, we'll explore exactly how to root yourself in that state, so you're no longer tossed around by the winds of circumstance, but grounded in the calm strength of the observer. So for now, remember this. Life responds not to your frantic seeking, but to your steady seeing. The seeker asks, when will it come? The observer knows, it is already unfolding. And in that knowing, reality rearranges itself in ways the seeker could never imagine. Imagine for a moment that you've been walking through life as if you were lost in a crowded marketplace. Noise everywhere, colors flashing, people rushing, everyone shouting for your attention. That is the seeker's world, chaotic, restless, always moving faster than your ability to catch up. But then, you find a staircase that leads upward. You climb, and suddenly you're standing above the market, looking down from a balcony. The chaos is still there, but now it doesn't control you. You see it, but you're not swallowed by it. That is the perspective of the observer. And once you've seen from that height, why would you ever go back to being lost in the crowd? But here's the real question. How do you carry that balcony view with you everywhere you go? The first step is awareness in the small moments. Too often we wait for big breakthroughs, big meditations, big transformations. But the observer awakens in the ordinary. When you're sipping coffee, notice the warmth on your lips. When you're walking down the street, notice the sound of your footsteps. When you're in conversation, notice the pauses between words. Each tiny moment of attention is like planting a seed. And over time, those seeds grow into a life rooted in presence. Now, this doesn't mean the seeker disappears forever. You'll still feel desire. You'll still set goals. You'll still dream of more. That's part of being human. The difference is that now, desire no longer owns you. You hold it gently, like a bird resting in your hands. Instead of clenching it in fear, it might fly away. The observer allows desires to flow through without letting them become prisons. And here's the paradox. The less tightly you hold, the faster what you seek comes to you. Think about relationships. When you're desperate for someone's love, that energy pushes them away. But when you rest in your own awareness, when you no longer need them to fill your emptiness, something shifts. People are drawn to that energy. They sense stability. They sense calm. It's the same with opportunities, success, even health. The more you release the frantic need to chase, the more life seems to bring the right people, the right chances, and the right healing into your orbit. This is not magic in the fairy tale sense, it's alignment. The observer's calm awareness changes how you move, how you speak, how you see the world. And when you change, the world cannot help but respond. But let's be honest, life will still test you. Bills arrive. People disappoint you. Plans fall apart. These moments can pull you back into seeking mode. That's natural. The key is not to avoid them, but to practice returning. Returning to presence. Returning to awareness. Returning to the observer. Every time you come back, you strengthen the muscle of presence, and little by little, it becomes your default way of being. So the practice isn't perfection, it's return. Always return. Here's an exercise you can begin right now. The next time something frustrates you, instead of reacting immediately, take one breath and say silently, I see this. That's all. I see this frustration. I see this fear. I see this disappointment. That one moment of observation creates space. And in that space, choice appears. Instead of being swept away, you step into the role of the one who notices. From there, your response changes. From there, your energy shifts. Another exercise. Choose one daily ritual where you commit to full observation. It might be brushing your teeth, eating a meal, or watching the sunrise. During that time, don't think ahead. Don't drift back. Just observe. Notice the sensations, the colors, the sounds. This simple act trains your mind to anchor in the observer's state. Over time, that anchor becomes strong enough to hold you even in storms. And when storms no longer toss you around, you discover a freedom most people never taste. Because here's the ultimate gift of the observer, peace. Not the fragile peace that depends on everything going your way, but the steady peace that stays even when the world shakes. From that peace flows clarity. From that clarity flows wisdom. And from that wisdom flows the ability to manifest with ease, not with strain. Think about it. How different would your life feel if you knew, truly knew, that you could face anything with calm presence? How would you approach your dreams if you trusted they were unfolding? Without frantic chasing? How would your relationship shift if you listened not from need, but from pure awareness? This is the life the observer unlocks. And perhaps the greatest secret is this: you've been the observer all along. Yes, even in your most restless moments, the observer was there, quietly watching. It's not something you have to invent. It's something you have to remember. The part of you that notices your thoughts is not the thought. The part of you that feels your emotions is not the emotion. The part of you that sees the world is larger than the world it sees. That silent presence behind every experience, that is who you truly are. And when you live from that truth, manifestation is no longer a struggle. It's not about forcing the universe to give you what you want. It's about aligning with what already is, and allowing life to reveal its treasures at the perfect time. The seeker fights for control. The observer trusts the flow, and in that trust, miracles unfold. So here is your invitation. For the next 7 days, practice being the observer. Notice your breath. Notice your thoughts. Notice your surroundings. Each time you forget, simply return. Each time you fall into seeking, simply step back again. No judgment, no pressure, just return. And watch how life begins to feel lighter, how synchronicities begin to appear, how peace begins to settle in your heart. And when you see those shifts, remember this moment. Remember that it wasn't another ritual or affirmation that unlocked the door. It was your choice to observe. So if this message resonates with you, let it be more than just words. Let it be a turning point. Share it with someone who needs to remember their own power. Comment below what moment of awareness touched you most. And if you're ready to keep walking this path with me, subscribe and stay connected, because the journey of the observer is endless, and we're only at the beginning. Your awakening has already started. The only question is, will you live as the seeker, or as the observer who knows they were free all along?